Good afternoon, everybody. My name's John, and you're watching WHU TV live on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks, Robert. I thought I'd turn the mic back on, but as always, I hope you're doing all right. So apologies, guys. I thought everything was sorted out, but I hope you're doing okay. We are now episode 23 of the Daily Chats with John, and I hope you're all doing well as always. Let's have a look to say everybody's in the chat. Nick again, hello. Mark, good to see you. PB is in the chat, and Robert is in the chat as well. Good morning, mate. Hope you're all doing right. Let's start off with a funny thing for a change. I don't know if you guys have actually been able to see. Pete says, "Well, Pete." So I thought he'd gone deaf for just a minute. And JJ says, hello, mate. Good evening. Hope you're doing all right. But yeah, let's start off with something with a little bit funny. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Please tell me you have. This is one of the funniest things I've seen for a while. This picture. All right. Now, the context of this is that FC Seoul were using sex dolls to replace the supporters. And they got found out, and they had to issue an apology on it. I think that's one of the funniest ideas ever to do it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's just cracks me up that they've really used their initiative, because I put the picture up again, right? Because you can see in the background that there are cardboard cutouts at the top of a few supporters, but in the second part of the tier, which I'm guessing is the lower tier by the looks of the photo, it's it's a lot of people. Brilliant. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. Really is good. Andy's back. Hello, Andy. Good to see you. James is back. Hello, buddy. What an haircut, as always. Mark says those dolls are expensive. Jay loves it. Andy says our owners may have a few as well. That'll be funny when football comes back sometime next month, mate. What else have we got? Robert says that is amazing. When the players get bored, they can have a go at them. Raymond Moore, hello, mate. Ben Davis says David Gold and Sullivan will be doing that. Good to see you again, Ben. Hello, Mick. Hope you're keeping all right. But yeah, very funny subject. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really see what the issue is. Right? It's not exactly like they've got them in certain positions, or there's anybody using them while the security guards are using them while the game's kicking off. I don't really see the problem, to be honest with you. James says, look like got a bit of sun. Just a little bit, mate. Yeah. Been out in the garden this afternoon. Really helping with my depression. I don't know. Maybe I do suffer with seasonal affective disorder after all. I don't know, but it's just, mate, sitting out in the garden, just relaxing. It was perfect. Really was nice today. But yeah, no, as I say, the FC Seoul had to apologise nationally or internationally for doing it. Don't see the issue. I really don't. As I say, that it's not like the security guards taking advantage of them or anything like that. I just think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's brilliant. I would love to hold the shake the man's hand that came up with that idea. It's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, obviously, guys, give me your thoughts on that, because a few of you have said it's been good fun, but yeah, I mean, do you see any issue with it? Robert says they all have masks on as well, practicing social etiquette. Raymond says normal people won't know those dolls. Mate, there's not many normal people in the world. That's half the problem. Mark says PC gone mad. Yeah, agreed. Mick says if all people are 100% tested, i.e. players sitting in the sub bench, why are they wearing masks? Ben says it's harmless, isn't it? Yeah, a bit weird, but harmless. Well, it's no weirder than having a photograph taken and having your cardboard cutout stood there, as far as I'm concerned. At the end of the day, it's to mimic having a crowd, as far as I'm concerned. At the end of the day, they're social distancing each other as well. So just to set the bar, and Nick, as always, I said, I wish I was a security guard. Jimmy says no, I don't see any problem in it at all. Like you said, it's not like it's participatory. Now, guys, obviously, as you've known, that we've had bids coming in, apparently, which Indy Carlo was just been all over and just it's all complete bullshit. I mean, come on, that source is never a source in any shape or form. The only people I trust, I trust ex West Ham employee over Sky Sports and everybody else, ESPN, the Daily Mirror, all that sort of stuff. I trust him way more than any of the crap that we get to see. Robert says a good point. Actually, they were having fun. People just need to lighten up. Yeah, agreed. But it did turn out back in 2016, so basically 4 years ago, that West Ham had a bid of £350 million, which was obviously rejected. Now, this ties in quite nicely with the facts that even though it's not important in any shape or form, the Sunday Times has been running with it. That David Sullivan slipped to 135th richest man or richest person, depending on your point of view, in the Sunday Times' rich list, because his family wealth lost £50 million apparently. So yeah, it's just James says the same thing. X is the only one I trust. Vo, good evening, mate. Hope you're all right. Everyone knows that Indy Carlo is fake. Yeah, well, not everybody, mate. A lot of people take him for granted. Some of the stuff they do get right, but it's 1,000 to 1 chance. 1,000 to 1 chance. Sofian's in. Hello, guys. I think we will get taken over one day. To be honest, that the twas have lost value. And to be fair, Indy Carlo got the Celtic one right today. That's what I'm saying. It's they get 1 in 1,000 right. They get 1 in 1,000 right, and they only get that one right because they see it from various other sources that are credible, pretty much breaking on the day that it's been. Mark says, "Evening, John. Sorry, been in my pool. It's so hot here." Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah, so I thought that's what you were saying, mate. Ben says, "What kind of noises do the dolls make even when a goal is scored?" Quite high pitch, I should imagine. But yeah, and it was interesting to read earlier today that, as we talked about for quite a few days on and off, that the Premier League clubs all got together today. It's not an emergency meeting like Sky Sports has published. I went through the schedule with you guys about it last week. So it's not an emergency meeting for the clubs all to get together. It's trying to make it sound more dramatic than it actually is, which is why I don't listen. This is why I don't pay attention to Sky at all. But it was interesting to read today that they all voted to have training to resume, all clubs for full training to resume tomorrow. Now, the interesting reason why I'm saying it's interesting is because the squad has been, West Ham's squad has been tested. They all got tested yesterday when they all individually went into the training ground, and they will get the results tomorrow. So now this is the thing. This is the thing when what happens if one of those players is tested for positive. Now, because they're going to be tested twice a week, it makes a bit more sense that if anyone's isolating to first thing tomorrow morning, then everybody playing together, and then they're showing symptoms. Because bearing in mind, it takes approximately a week to 10 days, give or take, the earliest for symptoms to show. So, yeah, it's interesting to have to that side of things. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this, guys. Because the clubs have agreed to phase 1, shall we say, of training, which is getting everybody together and to have normal training. So obviously there's going to be a lot of sliding in deep and a lot of coming from behind tackles and no holds barred penetration to the ball, shall we say, those sort of things. It'd be interesting to see what happens over the next few days, because obviously, I'll be keeping abreast of it to see what happens. Raymond asks, is it safe to restart the Premier League when the infection rate is still high? It's not high. It's not high. It's coming down. The infection rate is not far off being high, but it's a lot high. It's a lot lower than it used to be. I know the numbers are still there, and a lot, because we've still got, 13% of the entire people that have been tested have got the virus. Well, no, it's down to about 9 now. It's about 9%. Loads of less deaths, which is good. The second day in a row now, it's been under 200 deaths. It's about 140, I think, 146. I think they were saying earlier today, and less people in hospital than this time last week. It was about 13% down. So that's where I was getting my figures mixed up from. But Sophie makes a good point. Said if I do think if a manager gets it again, then we'll just have to stop. Yeah, agreed. Completely agree with you there, mate. Nick says surely get results first before they all train together. Well, that's what I'm saying. They'll have the results before they are allowed to officially start training with each other, because that's the only common. It's the only common denominator in there. Ben says there may never be a vaccine to what are clubs to do. Things have to get back to some more normality. Ben, I know what you mean, but that's some of that you can class as fear mongering, because there will be a vaccine. There's a vaccine for everything. It may not happen overnight. It may not happen in the next year to 18 months, but there will be a vaccine. H1N1 flu, when that came out 102 years ago, nobody had a vaccine for it then. Killed almost 500,000 people. Now we've got a vaccine for it, because it reared its head up again a little bit. It was reclassified as swine flu, but it came back up again, and it disappeared quickly because there was a vaccine that's built into the influenza vaccine that we all get every year. So I know what you mean, but you haven't worded it in quite the right way. Mick says players will sit out and the rest get on with it. Now, Mick, thank you for that, because that brings me round to a question I was going to ask you guys earlier, a little bit later, I should say. Let me know what your thoughts are on players that refuse to have it, to refuse to train. Do you think they should still get their wages, or should they be suspended from having their wages until they return to training? Because let's face it, they can live for a few months without being paid. They can live without a few, but that's. But there is, so let me know your thoughts on that, guys, while I catch up with what's going on in the chat. Said Vernon, hello, mate. Good to see you. Got to start somewhere to get some kind of match fitness for whenever it starts. Agreed. Ben says, in Scotland, they have given Celtic the title. Hearts have been relegated and they are considering legal action. Of course, it's going to happen no matter what. Robert said it depends. If an individual player tests positive, then they will just isolate them. But if a club member has contact with the entire squad, they will isolate everyone. You'd think so, but not necessarily so, mate. I know what you mean. It ain't necessarily so, but yeah, you know what I mean. I know what you mean, but it's logic never comes into it a lot of the time, unfortunately. Excuse me, guys. Andy says it will be interesting to see how many players back out now. That's what I'm saying. Give me your thoughts. Do you guys reckon players should be paid, even though they're not going to be training, or do you think they should have some form of suspended wages, or maybe some form of incentive to get them back? Let me know your thoughts. Simon says John is right. There is a vaccine for everything. Ben says I hope so, John. But there is a vaccine for some diseases. I think you mean there isn't a vaccine for some diseases, but the only vaccines there aren't are for diseases that are new. Yeah, let's not forget that. Every disease that comes around, eventually there's a vaccine to cure it, or it's happened throughout the centuries. Sofian says players who refuse to train shouldn't get their wages. You don't do your job, you don't get paid. Simple as. Robert says, of course, they shouldn't be paid for not playing, but then again, we've been paying Wilshere for not playing. Good point. Good point. Now, so we've talked about quite a few things, all kind of blended into one already. So any questions for me to answer at the moment? Mark says cancer is not a virus. Agreed. That's why there isn't a vaccine for it, because at the end of the day, it's actually down ingrained in all our DNA. It just depends on certain things that trigger it. Jimmy says that's a very good question. For we are in uncharted waters with this particular virus, so I respect their right to stay absent. However, they make more in a week than I have in 3 years, so perhaps not a full suspension of wages, but perhaps a cut in wages is not terrible. Agreed. Yeah, Sophia makes a good point there. Cancer is not a communicable disease. Andy says, would the clubs be in breach of players' contracts not to pay them? Mate, whatever happens under the circumstances, there's going to be a breach of contract. There's a breach of contract as it stands already between the football leagues and the TV companies, which is why they're trying to get make sure that everything's been honoured as much as possible. Vernon Harvey says players do still have financial commitments. I would be happy with reduced wages. They do, but I honestly don't think that their financial responsibilities are as high as ours. Yeah, because the wages they work are okay, but they won't. Some of the players will have a mortgage on their £3-4 million house. Some of them won't. It's all down on a individual basis. Raymond says, given the circumstance that all clubs will have a decline in match tickets revenue, is it possible to suspend the ludicrous amount of wages that some players may have? That's a good question, Raymond. I've been calling that for a good few months now. That we bring back the players' cap. I really think we should be doing that. Open guys in. Hello, mate. Should they do a spin-off of the In-Betweeners? Maybe I could have a go at writing it. Mate, no. Go for it. If you think you can do a spin-off, go for it. But it will be terrible. TV programs have a history of either being terrible spin-offs or being if they're converted from one country to another. It just doesn't translate properly. For example, Porridge was a fantastic series. The spin-off of it, which was Going Straight, died big time. It's when Fletch goes straight. He tries to go working, tries to get a job, and and there's been loads of others as well for that matter. It's go for it, mate. But you're never gonna do it. And he's just come reinforcing the point that I'm making here. I said I didn't like the In-Betweeners American remake. Did you? I saw one episode of it and just absolutely turned it off within 5 minutes. It's so wooden, it's unbelievable. Nick asks, how tall are you? 6'2", or for those in the European continent, Brussels, 180 was 188 or 189 centimeters, one of the two. Ben Davis, I mean, the one that completely gets rid of it. It's never going to happen, unfortunately, mate. Clubs should be sympathetic towards a player not wanting to train. I think a percentage depending on each club. Yeah, a lot of the teams are the clubs are sympathetic to it, which is why they're not being which is why they're not being as lenient. So they're being quite lenient and not being as harsh as a lot of people would want them to be, shall we say. Sofiane asks, favorite alcohol brand? Guinness. Really? I mean, Strongbow do the best cider. Thatcher's is close to it. But yeah. Ben Foshi said 100% Bennett shows human beings have got a long way to go. Agreed. We're not civilized in any shape or form, even though apparently we live in a civilized community. We live in a civilization. What else? I'm sorry. I will have a go at writing it, and spin-offs are bad. I know. I saw the green grass. Exactly. Point proven. Written by exactly the same people. Even the prequel to Only Fools on Horses, Rock and Chips, was funny, but it just lacked it. Even though it was written by the same bloke, John Sullivan, with a few other people helping him in. Nick says, "Geez, I'm 6'3" at 17." I know there's a West Ham guy I know who's 21, I think now, 21 now, yeah, 20 or 21, one of the two, and he's about 6'5". So yeah, smallest feet. Honestly, man, the smallest feet I've ever known. Now, I'm size 12, right? This geezer, I'm not joking. He's size 8. He's 3 inches taller than me, and he's size 8. It's crazy. Sophie Ann says Nicola on Twitter is always going on about business. Yeah, she is. You're right. She's Titch, but she's a nice girl. Yeah, I know you meant Guinness. Yeah, she loves it. She always has. She was at. I didn't get a chance to speak to her, but she was at Arsenal away, and she went straight up to the bar and ordered 2 pints of Guinness. She does it every time. Bless her. Who should be in the spin-off? Like, what characters do I need to? That's down to you, mate. We're not turning this conversation into the open gun and stuff show. Not being rude. Sofian says the Big Bang Theory is just a B-Tech Friends. Agreed. Yes and no. When the Big Bang Theory first started out, it was funny because it wasn't your typical sitcom. It wasn't in any shape or form. It was, and then after a few series, it started getting into that, and it just got a bit boring after that. Mark English says he's 5'7" at 47. I can pretty much safe to say, Mark, you're near your next growth spurt, mate. I'm afraid. Sorry. And his son is 6'2" at 15 and just turned 15. Bloody hell! What are you feeding him? Vernon says he's 5'6" and getting on for 5'6" diameter. I need to get the mic out again. Bless you. Bedroom Bully's back. Hello, mate. Kids are massive these days. Yeah, in one way or another. Jimmy, you're showing your age here, mate. Guinness for strength. Puts hairs on your chest, apparently. Everything we were told that was good for us, even though it tasted terrible, puts hairs on your chest. Tall doesn't equate to big feet. I'm 5'8" and wearing size 10 shoes. I know, mate, but it's the whole balancing act, man. It was just, I don't know how he didn't topple over. I really don't. JP, what did you think last season when Masuaku got caught accidentally before the game? Was it sackable offence in your opinion? What are you talking about? You talking about spitting? You need to what was Masuaku caught accidentally doing? You again, like I said last night. I know you weren't in last night, mate, but I said again last night. You need context because otherwise your questions just don't make sense. John, do you watch Brassic? It's quality. No, I haven't seen it. Guy, as I say, I don't sit around watching TV all day. Today I was out in the garden for most of it. I was doing research for this, as I always do, and then. But yeah, I don't sit around watching TV all day. I just can't do it. Bedroom Boy says, "Sorry, I use English as a second language. That's fine. That's fine. Where are you from originally, mate? I'm good to. Is Killing Eve good? Have you seen it? But yeah, it's all right. So let's it seems to be more of a internal conversations going on now. So Jack Grealish. I don't know if you guys heard about this today, but Jack Grealish apparently has an £80 million price tag on his head. Now, so therefore, it is what I've been saying for months, if not years. This is a hands-off price tag. He is their most valued player, so therefore he's got a massive, extraordinary amount of money on his head as a result of it. Now, guys, obviously we're looking from a relatively neutral basis on this, but how much do you think that's a fair price? Do you think he's actually worth that, or do you think as I say, it's just it's a completely sort of no. Jack Rogers, what? No, 80, Sophia, not 18, 80, 80. I'm from Cambodia originally. Do you mean Cambodia? Because I've never heard of Cambodia. But Yeah. Mark says Man United will bid for him. Agreed. It's all right, mate. Just clean your ears out. Come on. I know you're a teenager and that, but you got to be cleaning your ears at least once a week, surely. It's near Cambodia. Fair enough. Cool. I thought that was the reason you were talking about. Now, Sophie and Kent Amis's comment is exactly what I was talking about yesterday after the broadcast. I wouldn't pay that if Grealish is worth eight decks is 80 decks is worth 130 million. So yeah, we need to say some context as to why as to why you think too much is 80 million is too much. I agree with you. I agree. I don't think that, but as I say, it's a hands-off price tag. That's why I think it's too much. Mick says he's a good player, I like today's money. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, that's fair enough, Mick. He is a good player. But as I say, it's the same reason. It's the same reason why Torres went to Chelsea from Liverpool for 50 million quid, because it was a high hands-off price tag. It's the same reason why Carroll went to Newcastle, left Newcastle to Liverpool for 35 million. It's a hands-off price tag. They don't want to get rid of him, so they put massive amounts of wages on a massive price tag on their heads. Yeah, so to make sure that people aren't going to be putting in bids for him, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I guarantee you, a lot of the teams are like, so we're not selling him for any price. But if you want him, this is how much we want to sell him for. If you're that stupid to pay that, you're entitled to him. OPN, can you please talk about the conversation that we're having? Because you keep going on about the same thing, and I'm not answering them because it's not relevant to the conversations. Sophie says he's a very good player and I like him, but still, agreed. If Ella go down, he's gone. Agreed. Exactly. That's going to be their parachute payment. It's going to be the absolute parachute payment. Opening guy says Carroll is overrated. Just his opinion. Fair enough. But why is that? Why do you think he's overrated? Andy says that's not a hands-off price for Man United, in my opinion. Agreed. But Andy, if they put a bid in for 80 million and it's accepted, you watch how many players they sell. Man United sell. I guarantee you it'll be about 2 or 3 within the same sort of thing. Within 2 or 3 within the same week, maybe 10 days, because they would try and recoup the money because they won't be able to afford it. I guarantee this happens all the time. They'll bring a player. We did the same sort of thing. Yeah, when we bought in Felipe Anderson, we sold 4 players before he came in. And that's the thing. It's just, all right. Granted, they were still French players, but still, every time we bring in a player, it's blatantly when the juniors are going, it says that we're trying to get as much money as possible. It happens on every single football in every single football club. Robert says, "Not like we're going to pay 80 million for him, mate. We wouldn't afford to be able to pay 8 million for him. Much less that, or 800,000." Roy Chapwell, hello, mate. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while, actually. I recognise that name. What do you think of Callum Hudson-Odoi's situation? To be honest with you, mate, I haven't seen it, so please by all means verify what you're talking about, and I'll be more than happy to give my opinion on it. Danny Morgan, hello, mate. Good to see you. Still looking drunk. Mark, although United have a flair midfielder now, so they may not bother. Agreed. Very possible. Kent Hammond says, if you compare Grealish's price to what we paid for Fornals, it's a bargain. Yeah, true. The thing with Bedroom Body says, the thing with Andy Carroll was he had the upper body, so he couldn't build on the lower body because of his lower body he had a problem. Agreed. Yeah, but that doesn't stop his ability, though. That's the thing. Ben Davis says financial fair play will stop most clubs from spending 80 million on anybody. Well, yes and no, Ben, because as I say, the way that the fair play rule works is that you can only spend what you make. So if you're selling 50, 20, 30 million pounds worth of players and you're making 180, what in Man United's case, 200 and something stupid amount of money million, you'll be able to spend that. Let's not forget that financial fair play rules also have to include wages, and they have to include fees to agents as well, for that matter. So it's very, very complicated. But yeah, it's but yeah, you're right. There will be a lot less because but there will be clubs that you can do that because they'll say because they'll have backups. Boom, straight in. You watch. Sophie Ann says Callum Hudson-Odoi has been arrested. He raped a woman and broke lockdown rules. Well, that's just irresponsible on 2 counts. Danny says, yeah, he was lagging in that photo. But yeah, Ben says alleged sexual accusations. Yeah, it's all the same thing. But yeah, it's shocking. I'm legit seriously when you're reading that's why I went like that. It's just like I'm legitimately shocked that someone would that these guys will still do it. Still do it. I mean, maybe the woman will settle out of court like it normally happens because a lot of not saying he didn't do it, but a lot of these cases are when women are trying to get themselves known, they're trying to get a bit of a payday. And I say there's never smoke without fire. So I'm sure there's something happened, but to say he was, but to we'll never know. We'll never know. We'll never know. Raymond asks, "What do you think of Raul Jimenez? I think he's worth 80 million." I would say so. I'd say out of the two, I'd say Grealish isn't worth the 80 million in comparison to Jimenez. Definitely. Right up says he's been accused of rape by a woman who turns up in a laundry at midnight to his house. Yeah, that's a bit worrying, mate. That's very, very worrying. Opening guy says, I think Jack is a good player. People talk much about him leaving. It's not going to happen for a bit. It's all rumours. When Villa went down, teams forgot. Bloody hell, all right. Teams forgot about when they came up. They just jumped up again. Bye. You have to go. Bye. Yeah. Peter Jones, great, completely innocent until proven guilty. But for example, as I say, it's just. As I say, because I'm just saying my opinion on the review. I'm not saying she's doing it for anything else. But I say these cases do happen. They normally settle out of court either because she just right, no, just give me the money, I'll walk away, or the club and the player don't want the controversy. So it's it's sad news. It is sad news. Sophie says Jack freakish. Jack freakish is a bit immature. Yeah. Grealish. John, you were right. Some women do that. Yeah. So I'm not. So again, to have an English lesson for everybody. Some doesn't mean all. Some doesn't mean all. Let me make that absolutely clear. It's some, not all of them. Because a lot of them will have genuine cases. A lot of them will have genuine cases. Like for example, that woman who pursued getting Ronaldo through the courts. She went hell for leather on that, and then he bumped up the amount of money to shut her up, and that's what happened. She walked away. Okay, so where are we? So we talked about that. It's Craig Bellamy. It was really nice. It was really heartbreaking watching this on Sky Sports' YouTube channel. If you haven't already watched it, go watch it. It's very, very open conversation that he's having about his struggles with depression throughout his entire career. And I feel for the bloke, as I say, because I suffer with it myself, not to the extent that he does. But I've had cognitive behavioural therapy for it in the past. I went to counselling for it as on top of that after when we lost Dad 10 years ago. So I feel for the bloke. I really genuinely do feel for the bloke. Danny says, JP, if you could pick a player from the Championship for West Ham United, who would it be? I would pick Millwall's Jed Wallace, quality player. Danny, I don't really, thanks for your question, mate. I don't really watch the Championship, so I can't really say. But for the information I've been looking at players in the Championship, I genuinely would. No, I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head. No name really springs to mind. Now this brings, and Danny, I'm glad you asked that question because this brings round, this brings me round to something I want to talk about Championship players, but I'll come into just a second. But I want to answer Raymond's question first of all. What's your thoughts on people saying English players are overrated? Well, it's people's opinions, so you have to respect them. Whether you agree with it or not, you have to respect the fact that if they think somebody's an overrated player, then that's their opinion. but so I can't. I'm not going to criticize somebody for saying somebody that is like, for example, Declan Rice, who's been massively criticised for being overrated this last year, 18 months, ever since his England debut. But as I say, I understand why they would say that when looking from an outsider's point of view, because they don't get to see Dex week in, week out the way that we do. But yeah, I'm not going to criticise saying everybody's wrong. That's too arrogant of me to say so. But at the end of the day, because it's their opinion, you have to respect it. You don't have to agree with it, but I wouldn't shoot anyone down for saying a player's overrated. Sophie said, mental health is a serious issue and severe if you're a footballer. The British media are constantly on you. Yep, they turned to a degree, they turned Paul Gascoigne into the wreck of a man that he is now, because he was being harassed. His phone was being tapped. He took the papers through the courts. They denied it, but they were still able to get enough evidence against them, unfortunately. The fans are, if you play a bad game, yeah, that's agreed. That's true as well. Mick says Villa won't want to lose him like us and Rice, but we will lose. We will lose him at some point, very possibly, mate. At some point, very, very possibly. Ben Davis says West Ham were supposed to sign Jimenez. He missed a flight over to England because he overslept. That was while he was playing in Spain. I heard something about that, actually. I didn't realise it was him. Bedroom Bully says you play the game to win, JP. What context? What context, mate? Now, talking of Championship players, as I said earlier, from what Danny was saying, there's been a lot of talk about Grady Diangana from the West Brom supporters. A lot of them think he's in the same boat that Rice is going to be, that they're not going to have him next season, because obviously he's not a player. It depends on what happens with us over the next 9 games, whenever the game's going to finish. But a lot of them are saying no, he's not going to sign for us. And one user on account holder on Twitter actually said that he said he's too good for West Brom. So I take that as a compliment from that guy, to be honest with you. Kent Hammers says, I've seen it, brilliant interview from Craig. But yeah, going back to Grady Diangana, what do you reckon is going to happen with him, guys? Your opinion aside, looking at the reality of it, because I know what everyone's opinion is going to be, well, the majority of everyone's opinion anyway. Would you guys look to, would you put him out on loan again, or would you stick him into the squad? I mean, let me know what you would do with him. Nick answers Danny's question, said Mathis Pereira or that lead centre back on loan from Brighton. Yes, he's a very good player. There's I can't remember the name of the guy you're talking about, but yeah, I've got a Leeds workmate, or former workmate now, I should say, who's a Leeds fan, and he absolutely rates him. Really, really rates him. Mark says England have a lot of good young players coming through, the best in years. Agreed. Nick also says Ollie Watkins. Sophie said, I think people are overrating players in their own country is natural. We all love our countries, don't we? Some do, some don't, mate, unfortunately. Bedroom Bully says, I'd pick Ngubi from the Championship. He's a quality left back. Not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. Kent Hammer says, Ollie Watkins is perfect for West Ham. A lot of people have been saying that recently. Jimmy says, I'd rather see English players picked from the Championship more, not due to any dislike for other countries' players, just for the simple fact that they are hungry and aspire to achieve success in the English top flight. That's very true. Good analysis from a Yank. Very good, right, Jimmy. I've always told you, man, you need to get your own platform sorted out. You really do. Baron von Long, hello, mate. Good to see you back. JP, I remember when Snodgrass accidentally on purpose for the weekend cover stuff. Well, it doesn't make sense. I think you missed a word out there somewhere, mate. Bedroom Willie said, I'd like to sign Tan, give him a 10 shirt and put him in the number 10 in his honest opinion. All right, so what, playing him over for nows? Fair enough. Mark says, Diangana will be at West Ham next season, I think. Sofian says, I think Diangana should play on the left, sell Anderson and keep Holland. Nick says, straight in on the left wing for Grady. Sofian says, keep Holland as backup. Okie dokie. Nick says, Ben White. James says, bring Grady into the first team. Vernon says, I'd start him over Fredericks. If Fredericks is on a 50 grand a week, then it would be fair for him to be on similar. Yeah, but they're two different positions, mate. You can't play a right back over a you can't play a winger over a right back. That doesn't make sense. I know what you mean, but Robert says, since we won't be making any transfers, I'm guessing that means after this season, I think we will pull Diangana back. Yeah, you see, as much as I'm agreeing with you, Rob, because he's smashing it down the left-hand side for West Brom. Yeah, Bowen out on the left. That's right, Bowen out on the right. Grady out on the left. Fornals in the middle. Lanzini, if he's back to his normality, in there as well. Lethal midfield. And have, like, for example, have Antonio sitting behind Dallaire or playing them side by side. Very, very good. You never know. You know, you could work we could have them sitting like that. We could have them sitting like that. You never know. Right, says, quick question for you. Did I have an uncle called Mickey Phillips? No, I didn't, unfortunately, mate. No. 2 Uncle Johns from either side of the family, and an Uncle Peter, but no, not a Mick, I'm afraid. A bit random, but thanks for the question. I'm sure you probably think I'm related to some, because Phillips is quite a well-known surname in certain ways. There's 2 sides of it. It's either Welsh side or Scots, and my Phillips side of the family is deranged. Well, they are, but it's derived from the Scots side of it. Bedroom Bliss's Jason from Ganova from Delray FC would make a good backup goalkeeper too. There's talent out there, but they're in obscure places. There are, mate. There are. That's why most teams have a lot of scouts going out to different countries, looking at different leagues. Sofian says, being on loan is the making of a player's career. Yeah, as Baz said this morning. Sofian, I know you were watching the same broadcast on Claret and Blue TV, Army TV. It's getting a loan player is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's seeing how the player can progress, and from both points of view, both for the club that's got him on loan and from the club that's loaned him out. Baron says, sorry, I'm German. It's fine. Remember when Snodgrass scored a goal and all the players celebrate? Yeah, because he was under the cosh. I thought that's where you were going with it, mate, but I wasn't quite sure. He was under a lot of criticism from David Sullivan when he first came in that January. And to be fair, a lot of us, including myself, criticised him. But he went down to Villa, had a storm over the season with him, came back, and he's been doing the same since. Sofian says, Grady on the left, Bowen on the right is going to be all right. Sounds like a lyric. Sounds like song lyrics. Mark says, Anderson looked good through the middle before his injury. Agreed, Mark. I think Anderson plays his best football out on the right myself, but yeah, I know what you mean. He's very attacking in the middle. Grady will replace Yarmolenko if we can't shift Yarmo out. Good point. Vernon says, sorry, thought you were talking about Ngakia. I don't see where Diangana fits in at the moment. Fair enough. Sofian says, we have 1 scout. Agreed, which is what I was saying. Most clubs will have loads of scouts going out the rest of the way, but yeah. Snodgrass makes a good point as well. Snodgrass is the most disrespected at our club, in my opinion. Very close to it, yeah. I wouldn't disagree. I think Noble gets a lot of disrespect from the fan base as well. Because Rice certainly does from certain parts of the fan base, because he's not spectacular. He's not very he's not flashy. So Grady says, Sofian says, yes, that was a song. We've got Super David Moisey, Grady on the left, Bowen down the right. West Ham are going to win the league. Don't give up your day job. Don't give up college, mate. Snodgrass, yeah, we already talked about that. Sofian should write the lyrics. I thought Snoddy had won the fans over. He has for a lot of the time. He has. But there's a lot of people that still jump on his back in the same way. There's a lot of people that jump on Noble's back. There's a lot of people that jump on Rice's back. There's a lot of people that, you're never going to please anybody. Rice could do 95 tackles in a game and would get one wrong, and people will jump on him. That's the world we live in nowadays, unfortunately. Ben Davis asks, who do you think is the worst away fans for atmosphere? I can't say, mate, because every away fans we've played against, they've all been raucous. So, Jimmy says, I definitely love Snoddy. And also, Andy, if you're still here, because we haven't heard you from a little bit of a while, but I did always promise I'm going to come back to people on it. We were talking about this a little bit last night. It has been confirmed that UEFA wants the Champions and Europa Leagues, respectively, to finish by the end of August. And apparently, they have concrete plans to make sure that does happen as well, for that matter. James says, Wigan. Are you talking about the Wigan fans that are local to you, mate? I'm sure we had a conversation about that a little while back. Mark English says, worst away fans, Wigan. Well, I don't know, because from where I've always been away. I'm in the Bobby Moore lower, so I've always been away from the away fans. So I've never heard them, unfortunately. So I can't. That's why I can't comment. But fair enough. I know a lot of people hate going to Wigan because of their fans. But yeah. Ken Amos says, Snoddy, 100% better player than a show pony. Agreed, which is what Anderson is. Sophie says, the moment I fell in love with him was when, after Burnley, all the players walked straight off, and him, Nobes, and Rice all told them to come over and thank the fans. Yeah. Most British fans get it. Players that that's why they get it. They understand the game. They understand what it means to us. It understands what it means to come over and do it. Sofian says, concrete plans, does that mean they're playing five-a-side? They're basically nicking the Bundesliga model, from what I understand of it. They're going to try and, once everybody's back playing, which is supposed to be around about June, July time, that's when they're going to start having the European Champions League, if everything goes to plan, and you're welcome, mate. Bedroom Bully says, we've got to be patient. As often as with fans. The Leaning Tower of Pisa wasn't built in a day. Well, neither was Rome. Milton Keynes was. Snoddy says, Vernon says, Snoddy is an average footballer with a gift for set pieces, but he is the clown of the dressing room, and you need a bloke like that. Agreed, because I've said many times that his best attributes are taking corners, free kicks, whatnot. But he's a good player. He's a really, really good player. Mark says it looks like it was Bedroom Bully. I mean, it's an interesting thing about it, because it was back in the days when nobody knew about subsidence, and it was built perfectly, and then it just went whoop. Nobody understood it, and that's where Baron, Milton Keynes is shit. That's the whole point, mate. It's Lego. It's a Lego brick town. Sofian says, Noddy can whip in the cross like it's cream. I like that. That's good. I like that. Ken Hammer says, been Wigan away a few times. Give a massive away allocation. Always a good day out. I bet. Yeah, I quite like the stadium myself. I do. I think it's good. All right, guys. So that's pretty much everything that I want to talk about. So we've got 10 minutes left. Let's just see where we are with the count. So no new subscribers so far, unfortunately. So it looks like we're not going to get anywhere near the drink so far. Looks like we're going to get anywhere near a game a song tonight, unfortunately, guys. So yeah, 10 minutes to go. Anyone got any questions or anything you want to talk about? John, we got relegated. We're going to knocked out the cup. I know. Doesn't mean their stadium's bad. Vernon, good question. Keith Moon or John Bonham? Moon all day long, mate. All day long. Very, very talented drummer. Not that Bonham wasn't in any shape or form. Nick's got to go. Oh, Nick, before you do, mate, I don't know if you know about this, but apparently, I think I've reading earlier, South Africa, you just reminded me that apparently it's now illegal to buy alcohol and cigarettes in South Africa. Is that correct? Let me know if you're still here. If not, let me know. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Sophie says, I suggest you watch Leverkusen tonight. Kai Hivert's watch for me. Didn't know they made watches. Sophie said, are the Beatles the best band of all time? They are the best British band of all time. 100% for a lot of reasons. I know a lot of this is a very. I'm very glad you asked this, Sophie, because this proves my point about overration. Because it's all about context. All right, it's all about context. Where let's not forget that as far as British music is concerned, the Beatles, the Who, the Kinks, and to a lesser extent, Small Faces. All bands beginning with the in the 60s revolutionized music between all of them combined. Now, the Beatles were one of the first British bands to write songs like it was a story. So their audio recording technique was brilliant because which has obviously been well documented because we had people like they had George Martin, who was a classical producer, brought in loads of different elements for it to really boof it up to make it sound like it was almost like an orchestra, especially with the sound for Sgt. Pepper. So Ben Davis says, are you doing any more vids with American Hammers TV? I haven't been asked, Ben. I'm not the sort of person who's like, let me come on your channel either, for that matter. If they ask me, I will do. I love speaking to those guys. They're really good people. Bedroom Bully says, Moore was extraordinarily gifted when he was alive and died sadly in 9/10. He was extraordinary. It was a little bit later than that, mate, but earlier than that. But yeah, he was extraordinary. His synthetics were unbelievable. Again, I'm not sure what you're meaning by that part of it, but when he was alive, he was very, very gifted and very, very talented. He was very talented, mate. Yeah, read the ball better than Messi. Yeah, I thought that's where you're going. He was awe-inspiring. He died so young, at a very young age. He died from his death. He died from cancer, unfortunately, like a lot of good people do. Jimmy asks, Steve Jones or Johnny Thunders? Oh, mate, don't ask me that question. I'd say Jonesy for me. James says the Sex Pistols were the most important, though. Well, again, there was more fashion. They were really kind of like the first band that inspired people to wear things, whereas everybody else really were wearing around about, with the exception of the Beatles. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, the bands were wearing what was around, whereas was it Carl McLachlan or whatever? No, sorry, that is Small Faces, but the Sex Pistols' producer really took it to another level, and but Roberto said the Rolling Stones, to a degree, but I mean they were more sort of rhythm and blues stuff, which is music I listened to. Sophie said, I nominated you to name your top 6 music artists of all time. You didn't. I know I didn't, because I've been busy, mate. I've been out in the sun. I don't live on Twitter, as we've talked about before. I will do it at some point, but God bless him. Yeah. Sophian says, rest in peace, the great Bobby Moore. James says, maybe the Clash. Well, the Clash were a bit kind of. I mean, you could the Jam changed more music than the Clash did, mate, to be honest with you. From an English perspective, I mean, I know it's different over in the States because the Clash were more commercialized over in the US, but that was half the problem. But they did turn. Raymond was already gone over this beforehand. Fo says, JP, you should do the new game show on American Hammers TV called Hammers Shots on a Wednesday. Really fun. You'll enjoy it. Tom Atherton is on this week, as was on last week. Yeah, that's fine. But they do it at stupid times. I can't, like, for example, when Bex is doing her hammering it up, or what, hammer it up, it's 1 o'clock in the morning over there. It's over here, I should say, when they do it. It's their times are different. That's why I'm hardly on it, because they do late broadcasts and I can't do it. Baron says, I heard Rich Piana was going to feature on your show tomorrow. Baron, him, okay, Bobby and his fine blonde hair, rest in peace. He was going bald, unfortunately, at that point, mate. So from one point of view, that's, yeah. There was a band in Cambodia called, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, no disrespect, who was inspired by British rock music. Cool. Malcolm McLaren, thank you very much, mate. Thank you, Jimmy. Do you rate the Spice Girls? I think people rate them because they look pretty. Yeah, they were some of the Two Become One was actually a really, really good song. But yeah, it was marketing. I don't know, to be honest. Don't listen to the music. Ron Wood is underrated. Can think of no better duo than Ron and Keith. Ronnie Wood and Keith. Yeah, Keith Richards. Yeah, that was good. JPG, like two-tone great music, AK Scar and all that sort of stuff. Yes, I do. Absolutely love it. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to pretty much wrap it up there, guys. It's that's cool. If it actually shows up. In English, it means the bat. That's brilliant. I like that. That's pretty cool. John, is Eminem the GOAT of rappers? No, he's not. He's bloody talented and one of my favorites, but he's not the greatest of all time. There are a lot better rappers than him. A lot better rappers, unfortunately. You've named one there exactly, Tupac or 50 Cent. Tupac's 10 times better than Eminem. Very good rapper, don't get me wrong. I've got a couple of his albums, I absolutely love it. I've actually got more Eminem than Tupac. But yeah, for me, it was more, it's more Tupac. 50 Cent was a bit too commercial for my liking. Good tunes, but too commercial. But guys, thank you very much for your time. If you're new around here, welcome. It's been great to see you. Quite a lot of people in the chat tonight, as at least watching. But again, only the few people actually participating. But guys, thanks very much for your time. So if you're new around here and you like what I'm doing, then by all means, please do please do subscribe to the channel. And also, guys, by all means, please do give this video a like if you enjoyed it, because the more conversation, more likes this get, the more channel exposure this gets, and hopefully get more people. And of course, by all means, share this out. This is on Facebook and YouTube, so you can share it out on any other social platforms should you wish. And also, by all means, for those that are watching the Tony, I literally just forgot. I know, and I really, really do apologize. I did say they asked us a very, very good question, so I will actually run over it a little bit of time, and I want to get you guys to answer Rhoda and Tony Tandy's question. So apologies, guys. So stick around for a couple more minutes, please. It said, hi, John. We're waking up and sitting just watching the show. Do you think Mark Noble would advise Rice to stay at West Ham and become a legend and win nothing, or move to a big club and win trophies? For my so Ronda and Tony, good to hear from you guys as always. It's a shame that you guys couldn't join in the conversation as usual, because we've got a new guy. Where is it? It was there. It's just disappeared now. Was it? Yeah, that's weird. Comment came in. It's now disappeared. Okay. Oh, you got there right at the bottom there. Wissam Yusuf Andy, hello from Australia. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Hope you're doing all right. And thank you very much for watching on Facebook. But yeah, Tony and Rhoda, Rhonda, even, I'll answer your question. I honestly think Rice, Noble's words to Rice will be, stay here for as long as you can and get your graft in, because that you will be captain. I honestly think that's what he's going to be saying. Guys, let me know what you're thinking on it as well, for that matter, if anybody's still here, because we've had 9 people leave, and so apologies for that. But so 10 people now. So I think everyone's disappearing. So looks like nobody's going to answer the question. So Rhonda and Tony, I will make sure. Here we go. One person. Sigurd Freya Johansson. Apologies, mate, if I've got that wrong. Rice can win trophies like Bobby did. Agreed. That's very, very possible. But guys, anybody else want to answer the question before we wrap this one up? But it's been great to talk to you guys as always. I really enjoy the fact we've been doing this for 3 weeks straight now. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to each and every single one of you for this 3 weeks we've been doing this, because it's been really good fun. Really has been good fun. Okay, so it doesn't look like anyone's going to be answering that question. So guys, thank you very much for your time. And Rhonda and Tony, if you're watching the replay of this, apologies. I will make sure this is in the notes for the next video. So in the meantime, guys, take care of yourselves, like, share and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow evening.